quickly going to show you how to set bolts in the into concrete or rock. It's used in construction. I've actually used a lot of bolting in rock climbing. Most common bolt that you're going to find that's used in construction is this thing here. I think it's called a red head, but it's an expanding bolt. And at the bottom here, you'll see this little sleeve. So what you do, once you get that, you drill a hole, get that down in the rock, and then as you bolt it up, it's actually going to expand that sleeve and grip very tightly into the rock. So I'm going to show you how one of these is done, and then I'm going to show you how it's done, or was done, in the old days back on the homestead. And I think you'll be surprised at that. With that being said, what I'm going to use to set the rock like it was done in the old days is elemental sulfur, or just sulfur, okay? Also called brimstone, and very handy on the homestead. You've got a lot of different uses. I'm going to show you how to use it in construction to set a bolt, but it's also used to improve your soil. It's also used to food preservation. It's used to control pests in the garden. It's also used to control pests in other circumstances as well. We used to burn it as a beekeeper. We used to burn it inside the storage area for our bee boxes, and what it would do would actually kill all the wax moth inside that those storage areas for the bee frames and bee boxes. And it's, I believe, considered organic as well. So anyway, so that's what I'm going to be using. I'm going to get that started now. So I'm going to melt it. So I've got to put some in here. That should be more than enough to do what I need. Whatever pot you use, it should be covered in. Alright, probably shouldn't be aluminium. And although the sulfur is very handy for a lot of different things, it's got a drawback. And that drawback is when it burns, it gives off the most noxious, horrible smelling gas you can imagine. That's why I think the old preachers talk about hell as burning lakes of brimstone, because this stuff smells really bad. I mean, yeah. Until you've smelled it, got a whiff of it, you can't appreciate it. So I'm going to do this outside and try not to sniff any of it. Alright, now we're going to move over to... Oh, you didn't see. Yeah, you did see. Alright, that's good. I have so much trouble with this camera. Anyway, so how was a bolt put into stone or concrete nowadays? You have a hammer drill. Okay. So, as well as just drilling around in a circle, it actually punches the stone. I've got to put some sort of glass on here in case the stone chip comes up. So, where am I going to do it? Right here. No, right here. So I think I've got the depth I need, and remove that. One of the things that's a problem is that you're always going to get little bits of dust fall back in. So I've got a tube, just any tube will do that you can blow through. Put it down in the hole and blow, and it cleans out all that garbage, all that loose rock and dust. Man, it's just a matter of hitting down your bolt to the right depth, and it's got a little lug on the end of that nut, you know, exactly for that. And then as you tighten up the bolt, tighten up the bolt, it squeezes in that that collar at the end and holds tight into the rock. And once you get that set in there quite nicely, you can then undo the nut, put on whatever you want, which is this here, alright, whatever you need to anchor down. That one's actually a bit too thick. Anyway, you get the idea. And bolt down whatever you need to. One of the big advantages of that, I could have actually had this on while I drilled and then bolted down on top of it. That would have gave you the right height. So, okay, so that's the way it's done now. I think they're called redheads. At least that's one of the brand names for them. I'm going to do this a couple times. So, the way it might be done. I'm just getting this hole ready for setting a bolt with the sulfur. Same deal. Good idea to wear glasses when you do this because all that sand dust will come back in your face. Okay. That's the bolt I was going to set in there. Yep, that should work. Right, perfect. Now this is just a plain old rusty bolt that I'm just using for demonstration purposes, but I have actually smashed it with a hammer, so I've made it not perfectly round. It's got some dents in it, and I did that because it's going to give it a better holding into the, this is just crappy concrete. Getting there. Sulphur's almost ready. Just pause it for a couple of minutes. Okay, sulphur's ready. All I do is put the bolt down, the height I want it at. Open that up, try not to spill any here. Should be wearing gloves also. And pour it in. Whoop. spilled a bit there. Close off the top. Close off this top so that it doesn't breathe and doesn't catch fire. And it's bubbling. It's actually on fire at the moment. So I'm not going to throw water on top of it. I'm just going to cover it in some dirt to smother the flames. Okay, should be good. I'll go get something to dust that off quickly. So even the rock, the dirt and the rocks in it that I poured on it, they actually stuck to the sulphur. It's already cooled down. And yeah, that should make a fairly decent bolt. Oops, still liquid down there. Eek. Need to give it a little bit more time to cool off because it was still liquid down in the hole. So, hold on a minute. Okay, giving it more time to cool down inside the hole, and it's ready now. So, most bolts are meant to, for rock climbing anyway, they're not meant to have, well, it's great if they could have, but you never want to pull on them in this direction because especially in rock climbing they can pull out. So whenever you're rock climbing and you expect to fall, you're hoping that you're going to be pulling across the bolt, not pulling the bolt out. But anyway, I think that's demonstrated one of the many usefulness of sulphur on the homestead. Something else I didn't mention before, sulphur obviously used in black powder, and I do a lot of black powder shooting, but it's also handy in they used to use it a lot in making furniture. They would actually cut in a design and then they would fill it with the sulphur, and you'd have this beautiful yellow, basically a stone inlaid into the wood. So I'm going to try that because that's always interested me as well. But anyway, there's that. And then you're probably going to ask me, how in the old days did they drill a hole in rock? And what it comes down to is basically a lot of hard work. You see that other rock? You can't see the other rock. So you would start with something like that. It's a rock chisel. So the tips of these rock chisels, although I can't see it here, the tips normally have a now they're a tungsten, most of them, so very hard. Back in the old days, they probably welded in some high carbon steel, and then they would heat treat it, whatever the deal was. You don't want this too hard, but you definitely want the tip as hard as you can get it. Wearing safety glasses, very important, and it's just a matter of hit, turn, hit, turn, hit. And in rock climbing, this is like when you're out on cliffs and stuff, this is the way you're supposed to do it. You're not supposed to carry cordless hammer drills up cliffs, but I'm sure it gets done. Anyway, so you just keep hitting. Hitting, turning. This is also the way, like when they built the railroad or any other big construction thing where they were using blasting. This is exactly the way it was done in the old days. Little bit by little bit, they drill into the rock with hand drills. Sometimes they would have a team. You'd have one man holding the drill, which would probably be a bit bigger than this, and you'd have another one swinging the sledge. Alright, I'm not going to bore you with all this. I'll keep going and try and get it down to this rock a bit more. Okay, so this is going to finish up this hole, and it's a bit of an experiment. So I got down a little ways. It's the same deal. When you every once in a while get your tube blow out the hole. Now the hole isn't that deep. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm going to experiment a bit. So there's a lot of gap between the almost an eighth to a quarter of an inch around the whole bolt. So there's going to be a lot of area to fill with the sulfur. I would normally, if I was going to do a serious anchor like that, I would go down deeper, but all the bashing and hammering and whatnot has actually started to split the rock. So anyway, that's how it's done, and hammer twist, blow it out every once in a while and just keep on going. Lots of work, but you can get there. So sulfur should be ready. Get some safety glasses on for this one, and maybe a glove. So if this holds in effectively, I will be very impressed with the sulfur as an anchor point. Kind of like the way it fills in the top there. There's a few pieces of rock chipped off the top, and the sulfur kind of fills them in. But same deal, it's on fire at the moment, so I'm just going to cover it up with some dirt, put it out. Okay, so I will give that plenty of time to cool, and then I'll see if I can lift it directly out of the hole. And yeah, like I said, if this works, I will be very impressed with sulfur used in anchor points. Okay, just going to finish off this video on setting anchors and bolts into concrete and rock using sulfur. So this last bolt I put in doesn't go in very deep, and it had a lot of space around the outside of the bolt, so it's a bit of an experiment. I would have expected not to leave so much space around the bolt. I hope I've given it enough time to cool down, because it hasn't been very long. But if this holds in, I will be very impressed with the quality of the sulfur. Let's see if I can actually even lift it. Yep. So I'm pulling directly out on the bolt, and there's no slippage moving there. So that is a pretty decent anchor. And I'm guessing if you ever had to put this in at a put it in horizontal on a vertical slope, such as what you would do rock climbing, you know, or for rock climbing anchors, you'd probably have maybe a little funnel or something that funnels it in, I don't know, or build a little funnel around it out of clay or something. It's just an idea, I'm just experimenting. So anyway, that worked well.